Do it all. And there you go, false alarm.
Hello. False alarm. It was real. It was real. You know it. One user error. Okay. All right, guys, we're
Still a kid.
We're gonna be in Ephesians 5. We're gonna key in on verse 33 for the wrap up of our marital discussions. Got Mac and Lily here this morning to use it as an example.
Throw him in the deep end.
That's right. Okay, who wants to read the Ephesians 5:33? No tricky words in there.
33.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband.
All right, like I said, this is kind of the summary of our discussion, and it is kind of a summary of the whole chapter there, really. Paul, as he does, repeats himself in a different way a couple of times. If you notice, you go back to verse 25 for the husbands love your wives. And then 22, somewhat for the wives to be submissive to their husbands. That has to do with respecting them. And then, of course, the end of the verse there, he says, one thing I wanted to do before we get into this week is go back to what we talked about last week. And I think most everybody was here last week where we were talking about kind of how to, well, without titling that, how to find a mate in a sense. And we're talking specifically about what the Fuller family did in our process like that. Nick Sagan. The process that we used to help the kids find their spouses, and talk about different levels of that. And of course, they're adults when the actual choosing takes place. So adults gonna do what adults gonna do, right? We talked about this in the first class. Do we have to do what we're told to do in the New Testament? No, we don't have to. Depends on what you want, right? You want to go to heaven? Yeah, better do it. Kind of not optional. Don't care if you go to heaven or not, but then do what you want. Same thing with marriage process. You know, there's or raising children or anything. It depends on whether you want to get a good result or not. And there typically are patterns that you can follow that will sort of ensure a good result. Not always, but sort of. So I want to say this, that process that we had, and for those that missed it, we literally had a question and answer or question sheet for the prospective spouses, and we used it to different degrees with different ones. Alan, he got the light treatment, only 3.5 hours of interrogation, but seriously, we did talk for about 3.5, 4 hours, and asked these different questions to try to learn.
How old you were when these questions?
Yeah.
Like how old were you when these questions were wrong? We got it. Mary. How much?
21. Yeah.
I'm just thinking like when I got married, I was 25. I'm just not seeing my dad
Right.
do these kind of things when I'm 25 years old. I'm like, I'm an adult at 25.
Right. And again, it was optional.
Yeah.
We didn't force Morgan to go through this process. She chose to follow that. This was what we suggested, and she chose, we'll play this game, so to speak. And Kelsey did too. Those are two primarily the ones that was pretty heavily, this is what we did. We sat down with the spouses and we talked. And,
they also weren't worried about what you were going to say either.
Right. They knew what we were going to say before we got into it. I mean, she knew. He didn't.
That's the whole idea,
You
right?
didn't prep
That's
me on that.
exactly. Again, remember, we're in my office, dead animals on the wall, big machete on the wall, meat cleaver on the wall.
But what I'm saying is they already knew what kind of parents you were to your children.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. You don't just do this.
Yeah.
You don't just say, okay, it's time to choose a mate. Here's the process.
Yeah.
No, we intentionally led to this point. And again, different levels. Mac and Lily, not as much. you know, it wasn't as formal, if you want to say. Now, there was talk. We talked to Mac. He talked to us. Michelle sat down and talked to Lily some, and, you know, we got to know each other in that process, and we communicated back and forth with, well, you know, better watch this one, Mac, you know. No, what did you know, we could have said something like that if we thought that was appropriate. And where I was going with this is because there's a negative outcome doesn't necessarily mean the process failed. Okay, the whole idea is to eliminate the bad ones as much as possible. Remember, Michelle mentioned one of those bad ones that we had that did something just heinous later on in his life. And we thank you, Lord, for not letting that get in our family. Okay.
Wednesday was the anniversary of that?
Huh?
Wednesday was the anniversary of that.
Oh my goodness. Really?
It was. I was like, ooh,
Wow.
it was 10 years, yeah.
10 years ago? Wow. But just because a candidate will say didn't pass the test doesn't mean they failed. That's the whole idea. We want that one to go away, and let's find somebody that is more suited. And just because there was a failure at some point in this doesn't mean it's anybody's fault necessarily. Okay, some of y'all know, I won't mention names here, but some of y'all know some of our family history and what's going on. And there was one relationship that wasn't a very good relationship. It just worked itself out as best as those things can. That doesn't mean that wasn't seen, that situation, the possibility of that situation wasn't seen beforehand, if you understand what I'm saying. Because we went through this process and because we asked these embarrassing questions, something's not quite right. Okay, you kind of get a feeling sometimes, right? Sometimes that intuition is spot on and sometimes it's not. So the whole deal of it is, yeah, there was a point to this. We were intentional about it because we want the best outcome as possible for our children and grandchildren. Oh, by the way, I meant to introduce y'all to the VIP today. This is Warren James Fuller, #1 grandson. So, okay. Also along those lines, you brought up a good point, Laura. You were a little older in this process. Maybe
When
you
we
don't.
actually got married.
Yeah. Maybe you
Had the
don't.
first round, that didn't work out.
Yeah, I understand. They live and learn, right? We make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Some are bigger than others, and things have to go with it. And that's really the key to the whole thing: is how you gonna roll with it. You gonna let that destroy the rest of your life, or are you gonna do what you got to do to get back on track? Anyway, the other part of that, maybe you don't have parents that are Christians, or maybe you don't have parents that are good Christians. Maybe you don't have parents that care. Maybe they don't care what you do. It's totally up to you. Just go find you somebody in the house and go, right? If that's you, find somebody that does. There are older Christians in our congregation that will be more than happy to talk to you about stuff like this. That are godly people that will give you godly advice. Find them.
Do you think it's okay to talk to your children about the people that they're gonna date?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I would say it is your responsibility.
That was
To
a
do that.
hint right there.
Now, again, do they have to listen to you?
No, if they don't have.
No, they don't have to listen to you.
They're adults.
They're adults.
Right.
They're gonna make their decision.
I will say as children, I know when our parents give advice, your children don't really want to listen. But sometimes
Right.
you need to, like what Lauren was saying, her first engagement, I said from the beginning, I don't like him.
I think everybody said that.
Yeah.
It was unanimous. Is that what
We
you
didn't
said?
like him, but she was gung ho on this is him. You know, and he blindsided her.
Yeah.
And then
And that
luckily, 2 weeks before the wedding, runs off with another girl. Like, luckily it happened before the wedding. But I'm like, if you had listened, I told you from the very first, I didn't like him. And so, I mean, it's really hard with children. The children don't listen to their parents, but sometimes it's like that intuition, like, no, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
I mean, you just,
Well,
you
a lot
know.
of times we've been there, done that,
That's right.
and can help guide them.
And it goes back to that relationship thing. what kind of relationship do you have with your children, or
Right.
do you have with your parents? Can you talk to them? Have you been talking to them about other stuff all along? If you haven't, this is not gonna work. It's not likely to. Because sometimes hurtful things need to be said, right? Just because they hurt doesn't mean you don't love the person that you do. The truth is the truth. So anyway, my encouragement to you would be, if you don't have that relationship with your family, those of you who aren't married, you don't have that kind of relationship, they're not Christians, whatever it is, find somebody that can help you, that can give you advice, that will talk to you and be honest with you, and straightforward. Because this is, look, will a bad marriage wreck your world? We've seen it. Some of us have lived it. I mean, yeah. It's important. Go ahead, Mike. You can say something.
Bert, I've been doing this recruiting thing for 25 plus years.
Okay. So you recruit spouses too?
It's all about the process. It is all about the process. And you're talking about development with your family, your children, and you have to develop them just like we do employees. We want them to advance to the next level in the organization.
Yeah.
Because if they're not growing, then they're not helping us. And I realize this is Young Pros class, so I'm gonna bring some business in here. But you've got the selection process. And if your kid's selection criteria is, we're gonna try to keep them from making the same mistakes we did growing up.
Right.
So again, there's so many parallels between
There is.
in our everyday lives.
And you see it in business all the time. You hire people, the wrong ones.
Absolutely.
And that sometimes you're stuck with them. Sometimes it's a lot harder to get rid of them than it was to get them in the first place. And kind of same with marriage. Pretty
100%.
easy sometimes to find one, but man, getting rid of them. You made me think of something else there too.
Well,
Yeah, it left me right quick. Okay, maybe I'll think of it later. One other thing too that we talked about last week was the concept of one flesh and what that means in this context of this chapter here. Obviously, there is a physical, sexual connotation to it, I guess. And in some sense, the discussion is about Christ and his flesh, his body being the church. So yeah, in some sense, the flesh thing is in play here. But that's not really the gist of what Paul's trying to say. It's not just about that. It's about the whole thing, okay? The physical side of it, the emotional side of it, the spiritual side of it. We're to be one with our spouse in every sense of that concept that you can think of. That's how it's supposed to be. And in fact, you might look at what he's doing there as kind of a parable. He's using things that we understand from this world to relate things that are spiritual, of the next world kind of thing. There again, not to say that sex isn't a part of that. 1 Corinthians 7 addresses that. It is obviously a big part of marriage, and it needs to be taken into account.
I think having those questions is a good way to help them to think about, is this love or lust?
Yeah.
Make sure that you're in love with them, you're not in lust with them, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's got to be more than that physical. I think having those questions is good. It helps them to open their eyes and look at other things. Sometimes people don't talk about these things. They don't talk about how many kids or if they want kids.
Right.
They don't talk about what congregation, what religion, whatever. They just jump right in.
There's some things we don't like to talk about in
Yeah.
polite society, right? I mentioned last week, some of the things I told Alan when we sat down to talk, look, some of these questions are embarrassing. They're embarrassing for me too. I don't even want to ask you some of these things. But how big a problem is pornography in our society?
Way more than people like to.
We don't like to talk about it, do we?
Yeah,
It's an ugly thing. It's something like by age 10 or something like that, it's like 80% of boys have been exposed to some level of pornography.
I think it's 7 now.
Is it? Yeah, it probably is.
Well, because it's you're not even looking for it and it pops up on your phone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we don't talk about it because it's uncomfortable. Is pornography a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, it creates all kinds of problems. especially in marriage. So do we need to know that this suitor has a problem with pornography, or is it a boy or girl? Because it goes both ways, a little lesser degree, I think, to girls, but it goes both ways. Is that something we need to be concerned about before marriage? Yeah. We need to talk about it. And yeah, the go through the process there with them. Morgan knew, I think you knew what was on the questions, didn't you? Had you seen it?
I've never seen it.
Okay, she's never
I
seen it.
knew some of the questions.
Yeah,
And I knew some of his answers and gave you a heads up about some of his answers.
gotcha. So you had already used some of them.
But, well, no,
To weed
he
him
had
out.
volunteered information to
Selection
me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Those are the kind of conversations you need to be having with your potential spouse. And one thing too we did with the kids is we always talked about, what's that?
I said, I wanna know what these questions are, and she said 4 pages.
And then can we get
Yeah, it's long. Yeah, I'll try to find it. I don't know where it is now because
Can we get the
same
answers?
as last.
answers?
You want the key to it too? I think it's pretty obvious. Pretty obvious. The real key to it is to be honest, because you're gonna be found out eventually, sooner or later. Maybe totally forget where it was. Totally forget. Oh, the thing about dating, we always talk with kids about we don't sport date, date just for fun, just to be going out. I mean, I guess that was a somewhat suitable description of what Michelle and I did back in the day, in our time. But that's not the point of dating. That's not supposed to be the point of dating anyway. The point of it is to find a person to marry. So, I want to go out with this girl. Would I marry her? Why go out with her? I mean, we know the answer to that, right? but the right answer to it is don't even waste my time or her time either to do that. So the whole concept of why are we doing this? Why are we finding a boyfriend or girlfriend? And it builds until you get to, okay, I don't know if Alan's okay. Alan's got to come see mom and dad. And I don't know if y'all caught last time. Alan going to see us was just so they could go have coffee.
But it's because we knew that we really
Yeah.
liked each other.
Yeah,
Like-
they knew they liked each other.
Yeah,
But yeah, he had asked her to go get coffee, and she said, "Go ask my dad." So he drives 4 or 5 hours, whatever it is, from Chattanooga,
I love Knoxville.
Knoxville. Yeah,
I think it's different for girls too, because I was like that when I dated.
yeah,
My parents knew who I was gonna date.
Yeah.
And I think it's different with boys.
yeah.
Y'all are a different.
Well, we did differently with Mac and Will with Samuel too.
Yeah.
We both,
We want our parents to know who we're dating. I don't know, maybe it's the way we're raised.
Yeah.
But the boys, they just go off and do their own thing.
well, it should be kind of a protection thing too for Mike. I mean, even though you guys are boys,
Mhm.
I think his hair's gone long.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But I mean, it's still a dating thing. There's should be, I think in a normal father, there is that degree of protection, sense of protection. Sheepdogism, but for your kids. You don't want them hurt. Boy or girl, either one. You don't want them hurt in any kind of way. And yes, you've got a right to act on those feelings. As a father, as a mother, it's not a right, it's a job, it's a duty. You need to fulfill that with your children. Otherwise, you're not doing what God expects you to do. And I think I can back that up with scripture too. We'll go down that road.
Train up a child.
Train up a child. The thing that Paul talks about with don't grieve them. I can't remember the wording exactly. Basically, again, you train them in a certain way. A good example of what Paul was to be talking about there is, okay, he's ready for his spouse, and okay, here's the questions. And that's the first time he's ever heard anything about it. That's not how that works. That's that thing of driving them into a bad attitude that Paul's talking about in that passage. Okay, back on our topic here. In verse 33, he uses the word love, that husbands are to love their wives. And I kind of hate that that's the word in English that we use, because to me, when you say love, the first thing comes to mind is Valentine's, that romantic type love. And that's not really what's been talked about here, although, again, it's involved, or should be involved with marriage. But it's more that all-encompassing, cherishing maybe would be a good word, of placing value on someone in this case. How much value do you place on your wife? And to go the other way with the respect thing that he talks about with women, how much value, again, do you place on your husband? Is he valuable enough to you for you to respect him? Because remember, that submission thing that Paul talks about in the first part of the passage is voluntary. You ladies choose to be submissive to your husbands. You don't have to be, again. Your choice. Do you want a good marriage? Then you need to submit to him in that way that you're showing him respect and honor and love and all the things that go with that relationship.
I feel like for myself personally, growing up, the only things in church that were ever taught about marriage was no sex before marriage. Like
Yeah.
they
Well,
never,
that's a good
they
one,
harped it is, but like they harp on it, but they never talk about the other things.
Right.
Like, I mean, yes, that's important, but it's not like what do they think about baptism? What do they think about instrumental music? What do they think about, there's so many other things. And I feel like the church tends to kind of, I don't know, not leave on that because they think they're just struggling sexually. Yes, but there are so many other things that they need to learn and they need to know before they get married.
Marriage class.
What's that?
Marriage class.
Marriage class, yeah.
Yes.
Marriage class. Yeah, there's some things we just don't like to talk about in church. And that's one of them. It's easy to say no sex before marriage. No, we don't have any concept of reality, I think, with that sometimes. We just say, don't do it.
But I think also with that, it gives, yes, no sex before marriage, but I think it gives this negative connotation to sex. And it makes
It
it
does.
like this
Yeah.
dirty thing.
Yeah.
It should, like you
Great
shouldn't,
point.
and that's
Yes.
not what it is. I mean, it's a beautiful thing between husband and wife.
Right.
So, but it's not really taught in its proper place. It's just
Yeah.
don't do this.
See, that was me. When we got married, I'm like, okay, all of a sudden this is fine. Like it was so dirty and bad before, but
Mhm.
now it's okay. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I would argue some of that is on the parents.
It is.
The church can't do it all, so.
Yeah, a lot of that's on the parents. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
being Christians at all, the majority of that falls on the parents.
Yeah. And we tell the boys there's no shame in it. It is just something special God intends for marriage.
Yeah.
You know, those things, it's normal to be curious. It's normal for these things to come in your mind. Let's learn how to deal with it instead of ignoring it. You know?
Great point. Great point. Let's see.
What? It's kind of like a driver's license, growing up, get behind the wheel.
I'm not sure where you're going with that. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit afraid right now.
Probably a good idea.
Intuition is telling me.
You can't drive until you have a license, just like sex and marriage.
It's not the same because you get to practice driving.
And there we go. Right over there.
So I want to say, okay, these two are the ones that
Okay, let's take a turn, hush.
I grew up on a farm.
This
Started
is
driving
awesome.
pretty young. Wow.
not legal.
Yeah, not legally, no. But so.
So what happens in this class doesn't just stay in this class.
Yeah, I can turn that camera off.
Yeah, we're still recording.
It's loud over there on the
That was Mike.
It was really molesting.
100%. And Kim.
He's the boss.
Yeah, that whole idea of the sex and the communication thing with parents, I mean, it's uncomfortable because we're uncomfortable with the topic.
Yeah.
All of us are, I think, to some degree.
Yeah.
So it's hard to have that conversation or conversations.
Yeah.
Should
And I
be
think
all
too,
in
you
one.
know, the world is so naked. Like
Oh,
everywhere
I see what
you
you did
go, you know, So it's like, we've got to teach them how to avert their eyes. We have to teach them how to handle this, not just keep them out of the situation, because it's impossible, because it's everywhere. You can't go to Walmart, you can't go to church services. You can't go anywhere without seeing it. And so I think it's important, guys and girls.
Yeah,
to
billboards
teach them.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish Michelle was here, because she would share something along those lines, because she particularly tried to tell the kids, look away. You know,
Yeah.
you see the Budweiser, great
Yeah.
example, not just the beer on it, it's
Yeah. Well, we,
all
you
the
know,
flesh on it too.
lived in Florida for years, you know, and so we went to the beach often, but like we try staying away from, you know, that, but like waiting outside a restaurant, this is just an example, right? There's like group of people start to walk by, I see that she has a thong on, right? And all my boys are sitting here lined up waiting to go eat. And I'm like, oh my stars, maybe they won't see, maybe they won't see. They walk by and one of them looks at the others and said, did you see that? She has the same flip-flops as you. You know? And I was like, it's working, they're
I knew you were talking about
very
sandals the whole time. I knew you were-
She's bringing back some memories, and all I did was go to the DMV.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Michelle did comment and said, we are watching, so behave. For what it's worth.
Was that
You make a,
It was sent to me, so I don't know what. It might be me. I don't
you
know.
make a really good point though. If you don't get in the situation where the next step is a possibility, you don't make the next step typically, right? Remember, I don't remember which week it was, first, second week, I mentioned something about when I was in the work environment, regular work environment, cubicles in those times, and had meetings with women, didn't go to lunch with a woman, didn't have a closed door meeting with a woman, because the perception's there, the possibility of the, I mean, whether it's likely or not is immaterial. If you never get in that situation where you've got a closed door meeting in an office with no windows with a lady, rumors are no good, right? It's like, well, that couldn't happen because the door was open the whole time, you know? So you avoid those situations, look away. You want to avoid pornography? Look away. I mean, to me, it almost sounds like the thing with the, what was the thing you used to say about, just say no to drugs? It kind of is, it's kind of that simple in some ways. You gotta you gotta put some distance between you and that temptation, whatever it is. It applies to any kind of potential sin. Distance. Again, training. You didn't just up on the way to the beach tell the boys, hey, by the way, don't look at this. Okay.
Yeah, we paid money to go to the empty beach.
Yeah, well, we used to go in September, you know, once school started back, because when
Yeah.
homeschool, we
I
could
think
do that.
Florida has one cold day a year or something.
Yeah. So, you know, we tried to avoid it. We tried to go at a time where we like going to the beach, we enjoy it, but we don't want to be assaulted visually. Okay. So, all right. We're talking about the love thing. Like I said, I hate that that's the word. In some ways, I hate that's the word that they use there, because I think it's a lot more than what we typically think of with love. We'll mention too, think about the society that Paul is writing in here. We compare the treatment of women then to today for a second. Think about it. How did they view women in the first century?
Well, if we're talking Corinth, then it's totally different.
Well, yeah, it was kind of on steroids there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But generally speaking, a woman was, well, that's the same thing it is in the Middle Eastern societies today, for the most part. Property, yeah, commodity, even, you know, to be traded. Divorce, we think of divorce almost as kind of a new thing, and I guess in our culture it is. But it was pretty much rampant back then, because marriage had little value, first of all, other than maybe political or some kind of business deal or something like that. So I'm tired of her. You know, it'd be really advantageous if I get this lady over here because she's related to him and, you know, big business. So get rid of this one, get this one. And in Rome, go ahead.
I was gonna say, that's what they asked Jesus, the rabbis at the time, like,
Mhm.
can we just divorce our woman for any reason? And for them, the answer was like, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Jesus says only for sexual immorality, like there has to be cause, was like a, and even the disciples, you know, when Jesus said these kind of things, were like, is it better just not to marry?
Yeah.
But that's how, like, where they were, where it's like, we can't just like break up. And
Right.
that's cool. Like it was a big deal.
Yeah, in Rome, men couldn't even be guilty of adultery, and you know, being married and being with another woman. That wasn't even a thing. Women could be accused of it and found guilty of adultery, but not men. And it wasn't just the Roman Empire. That was kind of a ubiquitous, nice word, ubiquitous situation. It was pretty much everywhere you went. Okay, let's talk about the wife part of that a little bit. The emphasis in 33 is that she respects her husband. And again, you go back to verse 22 through 24, that same kind of thing is there. The respect, kind of the concept of putting him on a pedestal, so to speak, is the kind of the deep meaning of the word. But again, it has to do with value. How much do you value this person? Which also should naturally draw lines, right? That value is right here. It's on Michelle. And that's it. It goes no further than Michelle. Nobody else has that value, and nobody else should ever. And that's the way. And vice versa. You know, she shows that respect and honor and love to me, in that that's me. Y'all don't get that. You know? Y'all don't get that respect that she has for me. Speaking of things like the adultery part of that, you know, it was common for men to have concubines in that society, multiple wives of sorts. How far back does that polygamy thing go? I don't ever think about that. Yeah. Back in Genesis chapter 4. I mean, we're talking about, I think I counted 5 generations from Adam.
It's changed.
5 of the recorded ones. I don't know. There's some discussion of how many kids did Adam and Eve have. A lot of them. But 5 generations that are recorded, and we've got 2 wives. That's the one we know about. I'll assume he's the first one. So it's not something new. It was something that had been going on for a long time. But speaking of what Jesus said, that Alan mentioned a while ago, when they questioned him about the divorce thing, what did he go back to say, to set the standard? You remember? What was the standard for marriage?
Genesis chapter 2.
You're afraid I was going to ask you for a verse or something. That's right, you want to answer it. I know what's going on there. Yeah. Genesis chapter 2, going all the way back to the beginning. One man, one woman. That's what God intended. That's that relationship. It was supposed to be that way from then on. We go 5 generations. Oop, 1 man, 2 women. So once again, we messed something up. So just mention, we're talking about the treatment of women in the first century. They were basically seen as properties, basically just to have babies. Really was the primary role there, and especially in Rome. Remember in Romans chapter 1, what Paul is talking about there, and homosexuality that he mentions there, that he describes it as a perversion. Leaving what's natural to go to what's unnatural, and that's what you saw in Rome, and maybe parallels today to some degree. Part of that is because women were not valued. There were other options, and they wanted to investigate them, I guess. think I've covered all of my notes, guys. How much time we got?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Let's see. Let's go back to what Kim brought up to about sexual thing. Let's look at Hebrews 13:4 just real quick and talk just a little bit more about that. So when you get there, go ahead and read that. Hebrews 13, verse 4.
Marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled, but fornicators and adulterers God will judge.
Okay. The writer of Hebrews here, whoever he was, again, is writing to a society where marriage is little more than a business arrangement. It really has no value, no honor to it per se, other than convenience and prosperity, so to speak, money-wise. But he here is telling Christians that we are to hold it in high regard. And remember, what is Paul comparing marriage to in Ephesians 5? Christ and the church. That's kind of big, isn't it? Again, what did Christ do for the church? He died. He did everything for the church. And notice he died. He wasn't necessarily willing per se, because remember he asked for a way out of it. But he did what was necessary for her. Husbands, you want your wife to respect you, like Paul said for her to. You want her to be submissive to you, like Paul said for her to. Not in a second-class citizen kind of way, but as a treasured, valued person.
And it comes natural if the marriage is the way God intended it to be.
You hold her in high esteem, she's going to hold you in high esteem more than likely. But granted, there's exceptions to that. But ideally, if everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, there's not a better way. I know it sounds maybe kind of pie in the sky. When you do it this way, it's perfect. It's not. Don't get to the idea that I'm thinking that Michelle and I's marriage is perfect and has always been perfect. It's fantastic. But we have issues too.
But I bet it wasn't always fantastic.
Yeah.
I bet it took work.
There's been doors slammed. There's been voices raised. There's been words said that shouldn't have been said. Not necessarily cuss words. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, there's been things said and done that shouldn't have been said and done. But it always comes back to she's on my pedestal, I'm on her pedestal.
It's constant
Okay.
work. It's constant upkeep.
Even though I'm mad at her, I still value her more than anybody else, including my children. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
More than anybody else on earth. She's number one. And then close one, A, B, C, D, E. Plus, F and G. We got a couple of add-ons down the road. Those are valuable too. And those would get some similar considerations as in that sheepdog world I mentioned before. But she's number one. She's always going to be number one. And whatever it takes to make sure she stays there, that's what I plan to do. Don't always succeed at that.
That only works because you're submissive to God. Like your
Fantastic way to end this.
Our
Yes.
foundation is the same, and so
Thank you.
even when it's rough, you have somebody that you're submitting to.
That's right.
Work.
She needs to know I'm submissive to God, first of all. I cherish her to the ultimate degree. And I'm willing to do whatever I need to protect her and provide for her. And even though I'm the head of the family, I'm still, it's not the headship as in lordship, it's a headship as in protector,
Like
guardian, sort of thing.
Yeah, so she moved to 1A with a star, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
that's right. Appreciate y'all's comments and all. Let's pray for her. Father, we thank you for loving us. Thank you for giving us all the things that we need. Thank you for giving us the information that we need on how to live well as married couples. We pray, Father, for those who are still searching for their spouse, that they will seek well and that they will be able to find a person that will love them and honor and cherish them as they need to be. We thank you for Jesus and for sending him for our benefit. In his name we pray. Amen.
What's up? What's up, dude?
We're not going up to that one.
Well, I think it's the HDMI cable, so I just wanted to show you that. But yeah, we they turn on for a second.
Good class.
Go dark.
Thanks, man.
I started to bring
TV
up
on there.
dating apps,
Oh,
yeah. Selection process, selection and screening, because
What is it?